Let's talk about physics. Hi friends, my name is Catherine. Today I'm going to be talking about reality shifting, sort of what reality shifting is and sort of like all the scientific theories and whatnot behind it. Just a warning, if you're someone that like frequently experiences dissociation or derealization episodes, or like just talking about the universe really sends you into like an anxious spiral, this is not going to be the best video for you to watch, so definitely feel free to click off or don't. It's your mental health. But I have tons of other fun videos that you can watch instead of this one if it's gonna cause a little crisis for you. If you are someone who's new here, I would absolutely love to have you subscribe and hang out with me. This video is very much a detour from my usual type of video though, just a heads up for any of my returning subscribers. So reality shifting is something that I first learned about from TikTok because a large number of people were talking about shifting to Hogwarts, or a reality where Hogwarts exists. The concept like really piqued my interest. I've always been into this type of stuff, so I did like a ton of reading and research about it, and I decided to compile what I've learned into a video since so many people are interested in this right now. I'm not pretending to be an expert on this. I'm a 22-year-old with a BFA, not a experienced astro quantum physicist, whatever the people who write all the papers that I've read are. But I do have lots of notes here, so if you see me looking down throughout the video, that is why. So to understand reality shifting, you first have to understand the multiverse theory, and specifically the level 1 multiverse theory. The multiverse theory is something that I have been interested in for like years, like long before I ever heard about reality shifting. So to introduce the idea of the multiverse theory, I'm gonna read the intro from an article about parallel universes by fancy scientist dude named Max Tegmark, and I'll link this article down below as well if you're interested in reading like the whole write-up. Is there another copy of you reading this article deciding to put it aside without finishing this sentence while you are reading on? A person living on a planet called Earth with misty mountains, fertile fields, and sprawling cities, in a solar system with 8 other planets. The life of this person has been identical to yours in every respect. Until now, that is. When your decision to read on signals that your 2 lives are diverging. You probably find this idea strange and implausible, and I must confess that this is my gut reaction too. Yet it looks like we will just have to live with it, since the simplest and most popular cosmological model today predicts that this person actually exists in a galaxy about, I don't even know how to read this number, 10 to the 29th power meters from here. So Tegmark then goes on to talk about how the farthest we can observe in our universe is as far away as light has been able to travel in the 14 billion years since the Big Bang, so 14 billion light years away. The people or the person in the previously mentioned universe presumably has the same limits placed on them. So our universes exist outside the range of us being able to like see or even contact each other. Here's another quote that's kind of the thesis quote. If space is infinite and the distribution of matter is sufficiently uniform on large scales, then even the most unlikely events must take place somewhere. In particular, there are infinitely many other inhabited planets, including not just one, but infinitely many people with the same appearance, name, and memories as you. Indeed, there are infinitely many other regions the size of our observable universe where every possible cosmic history is played out. This is the level 1 multiverse. Under the level 1 multiverse theory, literally any scenario that you could imagine already exists in another universe. So for every single decision you have ever made, there is a version of you out there who has lived the exact same life as you up until that moment, but then made a different decision. It's like really, really, really nuts to try and wrap your head around, but like it's also kind of like weirdly comforting in some way for me. So reality shifting is basically what it sounds like, shifting your consciousness into another one of these universes. Since we are operating under the assumption that there are infinite universes, there are literally infinite universes that you can shift into. I could shift my consciousness into a reality where everything in my life is the exact same, except my name is spelled with an E-R-I-N-E instead of R-Y-N at the end of it. But like, what would be the fun in that? Most people who are into shifting are into it because it allows the chance to have a completely different life experience. So they script what will happen in their desired reality, which is actually just designating which of the infinite universes you will be shifting your consciousness into. Like, you're not making it happen, you're just designating where you're going, if that makes sense. None of this probably makes any sense. This is all very theoretical. And people also usually script that for every month that passes there in their desired reality, only an hour passes here, or some other similar ratio, because we're existing on like a specific intersection of time and space, and they're basically saying that that universe exists on a different intersection of time and space. And while you are gone, your physical body carries on as normal, just as the infinite other versions of you existed and carried on as normal before your consciousness was shifted into them. Are you still with me? So how do you do this? And the short answer is I don't really know, because I've never done it. There are tons of shifting methods out there, and they all pretty much include some form of visualization. So if it's not visualization, it's concentrating on your other senses in that reality. What do you hear? What do you smell? What do you taste? And meditation, or like really, really allowing yourself to become relaxed and detached from this physical body. If you are still with me up to this point, haven't clicked off the video yet, you're probably thinking,
Kat, all of this sounds absolutely nuts. Do you actually believe this?
Short answer to this is I think I do, and I'd love it if you hear me out on this one. So I personally am very much a seeing is believing type of person. So I don't think this is something that I will 100% believe until or unless I experience it for myself, but I am actually inclined to believe in it. There are a ton of declassified CIA documents pertaining to things that are typically regarded as spiritual. I will link them all down below. They're super, super interesting. And in a document about remote viewing, there's a section that talks about hubris, and there's a line that says, "Unfortunately, it seems that irrefutable proof is the criteria for acceptance." And I just think that's a really, really like on the nose quote. The document discusses how parapsychology and spirituality are often regarded as highly similar. And to me, the difference between science and magic is the difference between what we have already discovered and what we have yet to discover. So let me elaborate on that for a moment. So imagine you are able to time travel and you go back to, let's say the year 1600s, like sometime in the 1600s, maybe Salem witch trial era, and you bring with you a fully charged iPhone. If you just showed pictures and videos on your camera roll to the people of the 1600s, they would be mind blown. They would think it was magic, and if you were in Salem, like, you would get strung up as part of the witch trials. The people of the 1600s just simply don't have the framework and the background knowledge to like comprehend the capabilities and the existence of an iPhone. Electricity hadn't even been discovered yet. Light bulbs had never been made. Modern photography didn't exist. So to them, it would be magical. And the usage of the word hubris in the CIA document is phenomenal to me, because we would truly be so encompassed by hubris to believe that now in the year 2020, we have already discovered and understand every form of energy and like every scientific concept that exists. We probably never will get to that point, but we'll certainly make so many more discoveries during our existence as humans, even if it's not in like our specific lifetime and the lifetimes after us. So operating like under this like understanding or this mindset, suddenly the idea of our consciousness like existing beyond this physical body, or the idea of astral projecting or shifting your consciousness into another reality, doesn't feel quite so far-fetched, or it only feels as far-fetched as an iPhone would feel to a person of the 1600s. I really do highly recommend that you read the CIA documents that I've linked below. They contain a lot of like really big words, and I'd be lying through my teeth if I said that I fully understood everything in those documents, but they're super interesting, and they contain things that like really have changed my perspective on the world. And like, I understand that this is super crazy. Like, shifting is something that is super hard for me to wrap my head around. Like I said before, I'm very much a seeing is believing type of person, and I'm also a visual learner. So when I'm thinking about shifting, I am quite literally picturing my consciousness as just like tons of like little particles floating out of my body and then going billions of light years away into another universe. So this is usually the point where like the very earth grounded portion of my brain will then step in and go, well, that's just not physically possible. But then I think about it more and I'm like, well, like what if it's like a text message? Like, I could literally type anything on my phone right now, press send, and the message would appear on my friend's phone screen thousands of miles away in a fraction of a second. And I can't see the text message like bouncing off the phone towers. I couldn't travel at that speed in this physical body, but the text gets there. And our consciousness could very well be like that text message. It's this form of energy that we can't see with our bare eyes, but it can go from one place to another in a fraction of a second. And honestly, like, how could we ever prove that? How can we ever prove anything? Seeing is the most concrete form of belief for me and for many other people, but even that isn't fully reliable. I dream almost every night. I have very vivid, complex dreams, but what I see in my dreams isn't real. And we know that psychedelics and hallucinogenics exist, but people wouldn't consider the visions produced by those to be real. A lot of people do actually just think that shifting is very complex lucid dreaming, and I don't know, it could be. How would we ever know? I feel like this is a really good time to bring up one of my favorite Harry Potter quotes from Albus Dumbledore. Of course it is happening inside your head, Harry, but why on earth should that mean that it is not real? Do you see why I put a dissociation warning at the beginning of this video yet? I'm pretty sure in the scientific world, theories can actually never be considered 100% true. They can just be yet to be proven false. But don't quote me on that because it's been a while since I've taken an actual science class. So if I really simplify as much as quantum physics can be simplified, we're facing two concepts here, both which are equally hard for me personally to wrap my head around. The concept of infinity and the concept of nothingness. I've already talked about infinity with the multiverse theory, but it is so difficult to grasp. All 7 billion people on this earth could have 7 billion different versions of themselves out there in different universes, and that still wouldn't be infinity. That wouldn't even be like close to infinity. But if infinity doesn't exist, then that means all of this ends somewhere, and where all of this ends is nothing. And like, I don't understand how nothingness can exist either, because the very concept of nothing requires something to perceive the nothingness. Like, if you picture the universe as this giant but finite like sphere or box, it has to end somewhere. If it's like a box or a ball, it has an edge, an ending point, and everything is inside of that. And I can't comprehend, like, beyond that box that encompasses us, there being nothing. And I'm sure you can't either. Like, it literally makes my brain hurt to think about, to try to imagine nothing. Like, what is nothingness? The reality is there's so much that we don't know. We don't know how we got here, or like why we got here. Like we can trace evolution back all the way back to the Big Bang, but like, what existed before that? A singularity. Like, what the hell is a singularity, and how did the singularity get there? And this is usually the point where people then turn to spirituality and believing that some type of God created all of this. But like, if you push that even farther, what created the God, and how and where and why does the God exist? And like, it really is just like, you can just keep going and going and going, and at some point we don't know. And I think that scares a lot of people, and I think that's why a lot of people don't like to think about this at all, but it's why I love to think about it, because there's just so many questions and so many things you can think about. With that, I feel like I have given you more than enough questions to sustain an existential crisis for at least the rest of the day, if not the rest of the week, month, or lifetime. So I'm gonna bring my ramblings on shifting and scientific theories and the philosophy behind it to a close for now. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. I want to know, like, do you believe in the multiverse theory? Do you believe in shifting? Have you shifted? And if so, feel free to share stories down below. Like what do you believe and why? And if you could shift anywhere, where would you shift? For me, it would either be the Vampire Diaries universe or to Hogwarts. Given the nature of this topic, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of like,
You're crazy if you believe this.
in the comments, but I will wistfully ask anyways that everybody be respectful. That is it for today. If this video was a lot for you, I'm really sorry. My next video will definitely be something a lot more palatable, like a Sims build or a makeup tutorial or something like that. I love you guys so much. Thank you for hanging out with me. I hope we have some fun discussions in the comment section, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.